I heard the reference to January 6th, and we'll put the video side by side. I think the most interesting thing is what makes the January 6th video different than what happened at Columbia last night is there were riot police out on January 6th. There were none at Columbia. One's at the Capitol, one's at a university, lots of differences. That said, if these were students from far-right groups or Trump supporters who wanted to hang a MAGA flag at Hamilton Hall at Columbia, would the NYPD be called in?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we saw students break through a window and enter unlawfully. That's illegal. It's probably a misdemeanor class 1, but they shot Ashley Babbitt for doing the same thing. She committed a misdemeanor by going through a broken window, and the officer who shot her said that he was trying to protect the safety of those inside, and he was exempted. So it was a completely different. The model is not the reaction to January 6th. The model of these presidents and officials are using is the 2020 120 days of riot, mayhem, 35 dead, 1,500 police officers injured, $2 billion in damage, and 14,000 arrests that ended in nothing. They were all, for the most part, released. And that's what these protesters see. They see all these officials that talk, and they feel they talk loudly and carry a twig, and they're in blue states and blue cities, and they feel that deep down inside, the municipal authorities, the people, the faculty of the universities, and the presidents are sympathetic to them. That's what they feel. And it's hard to look at this and disagree with that.
Yeah, it's hard to argue
no action.
that. Yeah, it's hard to argue. If you just sort of think about the business model of these universities, right? Universities are billion-dollar businesses, bring in an awful lot of money, have huge endowments. Washington University in St. Louis, University of Florida said, we're done with this. If you come on campus and you engage in these kinds of activities, you're going to be arrested and you're going to be thrown off campus with felony charges that are going to stick. That's happened. It's ended at Washington University in St. Louis. You've got Columbia, which I think rightfully you point out has made all these threats, and they're completely empty threats. But then there's Northwestern, my alma mater, that kids came on campus. They chanted things about ending Israel and hey, hey, ho, ho, Israel's got to go and the like. They were allowed then to camp on campus through June 1st. That the school now has to protect any protester who is outed for chanting and participating in these vile acts. And they have promised now to provide full tuition for 5 Palestinian undergraduates. What do you make of the business model here of each of these universities?
Well, they're very different because the former that you referenced are in red states. So people in Missouri or Florida, the elected governments of those states believe in law and order, and the people who are in those states tend to be a little bit more conservative than their counterparts in New York City and Chicago, which is back to my point. It sounds lunatic, but there is the implicit lesson here that these students are very canny people, and they feel that they've heard their entire lives, don't do this, deadline, 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 whether it's handing in papers or that's how the modern university operates in these places. So they have no credibility, the authorities, and the people who broke into Hamilton Hall think, well, they say a lot, but they won't do anything because this faculty is on our side and a lot of the administrators are on our side. And after all, we're in liberal New York City and the police have to be controlled by the mayor, and he'll talk. But the chances that we're going to pay for the consequences of our actions are very slight.
I want to get your thought on this because it's an important point, but I have to warn you, I've only got about 60 seconds. There's all of this distinction being made between the students, quote unquote, and the outside agitators, as if the students have clean hands, but it's just the bad outside people, so don't blame the students. Is that a distinction without a difference?
Yeah, there's no difference. One thing about, very quickly, what we've learned is that all of the shibboleths of the past have been exposed. We were told you could be anti-Israel, but you weren't anti-Semitic. That's glided into one fuse. These people are anti-Semitic, they're anti-Israel. We've said the Gazans and the Gaza cause is different than Hamas. That's a shibboleth. We know now that these people are rooting not just Hamas, but my gosh, Iran and Hezbollah. So we're seeing the underbelly of this whole movement, and it's anti-Semitic, it's fascistic, and it's supporting autocratic governments and terrorist operatives in the Middle East. And they're masquerading as if they're idealists. They're very cynical young people, and the faculty are no more than prolonged adolescents. They've never been off campus. They went straight from PhD programs to their faculty billets with tenure, and can't expect much of them.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.